This is Dates and Mates with your host, Damona Hoffman.
Hey, lovers! Welcome to Dates and Mates. This is the place where we are going to demystify modern love for you. I'm your host, Damona Hoffman, certified dating coach, and the person who's going to lead you on this journey today as we examine a very important topic with a very special guest who will be joining me via Zoom later in the show, Samantha Burns. She is the author of the new book, Breaking Up and Bouncing Back. I know a lot of you have written in talking about breakups. A lot of you Techspert users are in the thick of that. And how do you get over it? How do you move on and find love again? We will examine that later on today's show. Producer Thomas is back in the house. I know a lot of you missed him.
I missed all of you as well. I'm very excited to be back.
Oh, well, we're so glad that you're
Thank
here. Yes, because we have to talk about lots of juicy things. We have many headlines. Of course, we will talk about the most frustrating part of being single, according to Bustle. Plus, we will discuss how marriage changes your personality. I know about that firsthand.
Yes.
Could be for the better.
Yeah.
Could be for the worse.
We'll find out.
We'll tell you in a sec. And also, I'm really excited to announce a possible pairing between a former Bollywood star and a former boy band star. It's not the couple that I thought would be happening, but it's a couple you need to know about. And producer Thomas is here for it. And we have your thought-provoking questions in Technically Dating that will examine things like how to handle guys who slide into your DM and then ask for full body pics. Is that creepy? Full body pics? And we'll ask, should you pursue your crush if he's giving you the vibes if he already has a girlfriend? What? Questions like that and many more in Technically Dating in just a little bit. But first, Producer Thomas, I want you to turn up your mic because I'm not hearing you in my. There we go.
I'm here.
Okay, I want to hear you loud and clear because
loud
we
and
are going to do the headlines in the dish.
Dee's Dating Dish.
Our friends over at Bustle studied the most frustrating parts of dating, of being single, really. And this was some juicy data. I do love some juicy data, as you guys know.
This was a long study. I knew you'd be excied.
I
Lots
know.
of
Yeah, you knew. Like, oh,
Yeah.
wait, check this one out.
Yeah.
Because they looked at women age 18 to 35 about they asked them about the biggest love frustrations and frustrations around the relationship status. And we talked a couple weeks ago about how people aren't having as much sex as you think they are, single folks. Turns out most people were just not dating, and that might be one of the reasons that there's less sex happening, because 19% of them said one of their frustrations was they were just not dating, versus there were 16% of people that were dating. And of those not dating, they said they were focusing on self-care, good for them, 60%, career, family, and friends. I'm going to be talking a little bit about in the diatribe about all those things that when you're single, you put ahead of finding a partner. But 45% of singles said loneliness was the biggest frustration there. And 30% said societal pressure was the next biggest frustration. And like summer, you're going to visit family and they're all like,
Everyone's got lots of questions.
Yeah. Why didn't you bring a nice girl home with you this year? Yeah. Judgment from family and friends. That was the hardest. 9% said that. So for those that were dating, almost half of them said they go on dates a couple times a month. Only 21% said once a week. And that really shocked me because I'm always I guess I'm not shocked by it, but I think that number needs to improve. And I'm always telling couples, like, you really want to stay connected. You have to still act like you're dating.
Yeah.
We go on dates once a week. And this week we didn't have a babysitter for the night. So like yesterday, I noticed we do a shared calendar. I know it's so corny,
Yeah.
but it helps us stay organized. And I saw that he didn't have anything on his calendar. I didn't have anything on my calendar. So I asked him to join me for lunch, and we had a nice little romantic lunch
Look at that.
at a
Keep
wonderful
the sparks
vegan
alive.
restaurant.
Nice.
And I drank a kombucha, an
Ooh.
$8 kombucha.
You know, I've never had kombucha, even though I've lived in LA my entire life, which is kind of surprising. I
Well,
think I got to
feel
get on
like
that train.
Kombucha was only a thing
Yeah.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Well, my husband had said he'd never had a kombucha
Yeah.
either, but he got to pay $8 for it.
There you go.
So a good chunk of people now are using dating apps to find matches, 76%. This is really exciting for me as a dating coach because I've been doing this show for 5 years. And in the beginning, even in the beginning of this show, not to mention all the time that I've been helping people with dating apps, which has been years. People were not as open to using dating apps. Well, they didn't exist like more than 5 years ago, but people were not open to using online dating apps and found it to be weird and creepy. But now the majority of people are doing it. So yay for you. Now everybody else is caught up with me. Only 43% are using bars and still 40% are meeting through friends. But someone just asked me on Twitter today, what is the best way to make a match? And here's the deal. All of the ways are the best way. So I think dating apps are the best way to expand your dating pool quickly, but that doesn't mean you should give up on, I mean, maybe not going to bars, but going to events.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can go to bars too, but just, you want to meet people sober and ready for a relationship, right?
Perhaps in some different scenarios.
Yeah, and asking friends for introductions. I know they didn't mention people meeting through work, but I know that's a big thing too. But you got to use all of that. All of that should be a part of your dating portfolio. Okay, I could go on and on about stats, but I've talked your ear off. Now I want to tell you about marriage. This is like the next evolution, how marriage changes your personality. And this was an article in HuffPost this week that examined how couples undergo significant personality changes during the first year and a half of marriage. I'd be really curious to see what happens if they extended this beyond the first year and a half, because there's even more changes that happen. But basically, they were assessed on different personality traits like extroversion, openness to experience, conscientiousness, agreeableness, and neuroticism. And you probably won't be surprised to learn that husbands became less extroverted and both husbands and wives became less agreeable. There are so many things that
It seemed a little disheartening, this study. I was like, oh no.
No, I think here's the icing. It's silver lining, not the icing. Here's the silver lining. When you are in a relationship for long term and once you get married, people evolve into being more themselves. And that's actually a good thing because we're all in best behavior when we're dating. You're like trying to win the person over. And you want to be in a relationship with someone who feels comfortable being their whole self with you. So I actually think it's good. As long as you can evolve with the changes that are happening, I think that's why you see a lot of divorces that happen in that first 5 years because people are like, oh, who the bleep did I marry? Right, exactly. But it's the agreeableness that concerns me. And that's something that's really a tenet of a successful relationship. You have to be able to compromise. You don't have to agree with them all the time, but you have to be able to compromise.
Reach a happy medium.
And reach a happy medium. So there is a celebrity couple that seems to be reaching a happy medium. As well. There are all these reports this week about Priyanka Chopra and Nick Jonas. And if you're watching the video live stream on Facebook at Damona Hoffman, you can see this beautiful couple, not couple. This was them at the Met Gala where they allegedly met last year. So they met like a year ago. And she was like coy about it and joking, saying that they were wearing the same designer. So they said, well, we should go together because that makes total sense.
Oh, I guess it matches in some.
That's like an
degree.
excuse you give your mom, right?
Sure,
Where you're like, oh, well, we were just wearing the same designer.
Yeah.
I'm totally not scring him. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't be doing that. And then she was joking about his age, like, well, what is he, like 11? But they've been very, very, very flirty on social media, and I just have to. I'm going to throw my vote in the ring that I think this is definitely a thing.
Oh yeah, no, I think.
Okay, did you see the picture of the two of them? They were on a yacht.
Yes.
With,
they were cuddling.
Oh, and look, there's Jack McBrayer. That's so funny. I just saw him in the picture. This is the weirdest group of people. It's Jack McBrayer, Wilbur Valderrama, Nick Jonas, Priyanka Chopra, and Glenn Powell. And they're on a yacht together.
Yeah,
and
they're cozy.
Look, if you examine this picture, I encourage you all to look it up.
Forensic analysis.
If you analyze it, her leg is on top of his body.
Yeah,
her leg is on top of him.
That's a pretty strong indicator. something's going on.
It's under a blanket, but then that makes me go,
that
well,
one
you
else
can't
is
see your other arm. You don't know what's going on. So, no, I'm sorry, but no girl wraps her leg around
Just a friend.
anything below or above the waist on your body without it being a thing.
Right.
And we did do a
I think we tried. We said she'd be good with
Hollywood hookup,
Michael B. Jordan,
and
right?
I threw Michael B. Jordan in the ring, but I did not see this one coming.
No, I think it took us by surprise.
But I was definitely feeling that Priyanka was going to be in the news with a celebrity relationship, and now you know the scoop. So those are the headlines of the week. But the show is just getting rolling this week. We are going to be talking to Samantha Burns in just a minute, and we'll discuss how you can break up, but then bounce back and find love again. So stick around. I'm your host, Damona Hoffman, and we'll be back in just a moment. Hey, I have a secret for you. Everyone gets bored in the bedroom from time to time. And whether you're single or in a relationship, there's a way to spice things up at adamandeve.com. They have one of the largest catalogs of adult products around, from lingerie to things that go buzz. Adam and Eve has just what you need to revitalize your love life. And my friends at Adam and Eve have just the thing for you, a secret bonus. I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you you're going to love it. And your partner will too, if you have one. Best of all, you can order online at adamandeve.com, and they will ship your items to you in discreet packaging, so the neighbors will be none the wiser. And if you use my promo code, shipping will be free. So go to adamandeve.com and enter the promo code GIFT21. You can get something for him, something for her, something for you both. And you will get a total of 10 free gifts if you use my code, plus free shipping. So don't be shy. Live out your fantasy at adamandeve.com using the offer code GIFT21 at checkout. You just heard about adamandeve.com. Don't forget to use the offer code GIFT21 to get your goodies. Whether you've broken up with someone and you're single and you need the goodies for that, or maybe you're in a new relationship, you could always use a little bit of adamandeve.com. Now I'm so excited to bring my special guest to you. Samantha Burns is a relationship counselor. She's a dating coach. She's a licensed mental health counselor, and she specializes in breakup coaching that'll help you get over your ex. I know a lot of you need this info. She's also known as the Millennial Love Expert, and her new book, Breaking Up and Bouncing Back, comes out June 13th. You can pre-order it now, but you can hear her live right this minute on Dates and Mates. Please give big smooches to Samantha Burns. Samantha, I'm so glad that you're here with us. We got to share thoughts at the Match Love Summit, where they brought in the top dating coaches in the country to talk about what's the state of love today. And I really loved connecting with you there and talking about breakups. So I know you came into this book from a bit of personal experience, which is always a great place to start. Even though you are a relationship counselor, you've been through it as well.
Absolutely. And I think that's the hard part was, people just expect you to be an expert, but it's so important, I think, to have the insight having gone through something similar that I'm helping my clients with. And that's what really inspired my work. I was dating and living with the person that I thought I was going to marry for about 4.5 years. And we had been talking about engagement and marriage and what our future life would look like. And on the day that I was expecting a proposal, he actually dumped me and told me that I wasn't the one, that he just didn't think it was right. And that was so confusing to me, because how could you date someone for almost 5 years and them not be able to articulate what was missing or what was wrong? And so I went into this really dark place of just feeling not good enough, or like that I wasn't worthy of his love, and became very obsessed and consumed by this breakup. And so I realized, though, that if I was in such a dark, miserable, painful place, then what must the average person go through when they're experiencing heartbreak? Because, I know more than the average person about healthy coping skills and the way our brain works and having strong support networks. And so it really made me passionate about better understanding what we go through in our breakup experiences and in my research, I realized that despite our own unique breakup circumstances, we all go through a very similar grieving process. So that was really the foundation for my book, was to figure out what is this emotional roller coaster that we go on? Why do we go through it? How do we get off of that roller coaster? And how can I help people feel supported and less alone?
I love that you have that mission, and I know there are people listening who've been through this and are like, why didn't I have breaking up and bouncing back when I went through this in the past? I want to just kind of examine that process of deciding. I know in your situation, he ultimately broke up with you, but that 5 years almost is a long time to be with someone and realize it's not going somewhere. And I know there are people listening who are kind of holding on to the hope of a relationship. And part of your book, you have them sort of take stock of the relationship. How do you know if it's time for a relationship to come to an end?
Right. I think first and foremost, just because it could work doesn't mean it should work. And so there's a lot of people who are kind of fighting against their intuition, their inner voice that's telling them or making them anxious about, should I be spending my life with someone? And this might sound so simple, but until you live the experience, it's hard to know. But when your head and your heart are at odds, that in itself is telling you something. When you're with the right person, you won't have to choose between your head and heart because it's in alignment. And so some of the things that I uncovered and discovered in my breakup experience, and what I think a lot of people struggle to articulate in their own breakups, but it's just this feeling that it's not right. There's a few things. First is that your core values don't align. So you find yourself compromising because you love someone, and we're told compromise is good, but I actually think compromise is awful when it comes to your core values. So these are things you define for yourself as the most important to you. So things that dictate the way you want to live your life, and that could be religion, whether you want kids, your work-life balance, living a healthy lifestyle, whatever it is that is the most important to you. If you find yourself constantly compromising on that in the relationship, and you're giving much more than your partner is giving back, that's a big red flag that it's not the right relationship for you.
I think a lot of people, they see these red flags and then they like make excuses,
Yes. Well, we make excuses because we've invested time and energy and love and commitment and finances. And when we put in so much effort, we feel like it should work. And ultimately, we feel like a failure if it doesn't work. We feel a sense of shame, which is like the worst feeling in our human experience. And I think that keeps us investing in something that isn't necessarily our best fit. Mm-hmm. And then, just another couple things are, a lot of time couples feel disconnected because they just can't learn how to speak each other's love languages. So there's always this kind of emotional disconnect, or one partner feeling needier than the other. And then also something that I really dive deep into that I think is the core of the book is something called your attachment style. And that's really our level of comfort with closeness and intimacy, and do we feel like our partner can meet our emotional needs? And what I see is there's 3 different types, and there's 2 types on opposite ends that really conflict with each other. And it makes one person feel very needy and insecure and desperate for love and connection. And then it makes the other person kind of want to distance themselves and take space, and they don't like being depended on, and they feel like their independence and freedom is being taken away. And you see this pattern kind of butt heads over and over again in the relationship. And that's a big one that's underlying that, unless you really understand this theory and how your type and your partner's type interact, it can change the whole way you approach finding love.
Yeah. And even if you break up, you might end up replaying those same patterns in the next relationship if you haven't really examined what your attachment style is and
100%.
How it works with your partner. And in this book, you also give a lot of tools to help people work through it. So you're not just like preaching at people like, well, this is how you get over a relationship and I've done it and you can do it too. You really give people tangible tools and exercises. And there's something very early on in the book called the bounceback journal that you recommend as a as a regular practice to help people move from a place of frustration and anger and denial and all those stages of grief into acceptance and moving forward and bouncing back from the breakup. So can you talk a little bit about the Bounce Back Journal and how you've designed that tool?
Sure. So the Bounce Back Journal is really where you are going to be doing your reflective writing and processing. And we know through psychological research, just the act of sitting there and writing things down can be so helpful. And with my background as a clinical therapist, I developed so many different tools, whether it's meditation exercises in the book, a bunch of questions that you need to sit down and explore and ask yourself in depth, different suggested coping skills so that you can manage your breakup grief in the healthiest way possible. And it really kind of gives you that time and space that you're working through these questions and exercises as you're reading so that you can get the most out of it. It's not a book that you sit down and read in one night and you move forward. You really have to do the reflective work in there. And just another exercise at the very beginning of the book that I think is so fascinating is that oftentimes we don't like to feel our negative emotions. No one likes to feel depressed and sad and devastated. And what we know through brain science is that just the act of identifying your emotion, literally labeling it. So I have a exercise where you can write it in your Bounce Back Journal. Just the act of identifying what your emotional state is and knowing that there's part of you that can stand strong and allow yourself to feel that way and that it will pass and you'll get over it, that can actually, through our brain, de-intensify the emotional response. So if we try to ignore it and we don't deal with our feelings or we compartmentalize and sweep everything under the rug, we end up feeling worse. So this book really forces you to just dive deep and get in touch and in tune with how you're feeling.
Yeah, that's so important to say, because I think when we talk to our family and friends about a breakup, they're just like, oh, well, he was a jerk anyway, and you should just get over it, and it denies our right to have feelings about it and to process those feelings. I was just talking to a friend a couple days ago about a breakup, and she was just feeling like she didn't know how to feel sad, like that it was okay to be in that space. And it's like, it's the loss of a dream. It's the loss of like all of that time, like you said, and money and whatever else that you've invested, emotional energy. And you have to process that.
What I found is so many people, they can identify once they're able to, like in our work too, they can say, I know this wasn't the right relationship for me, but I'm mourning the loss of the future that I envisioned for so long. And all of this hope that I had that it's just gone out the window. And I think what you said about your friend, it's true. We almost feel like we're a burden on our friends. So the people who are supposed to be our support network, we don't want to disappoint them, or we feel like, we've shared the same stories 100 times and they're like, okay, get over it. It's been a few weeks or it's been a few months and we're feeling really stuck. And then again, that ties into feelings of shame and failure. And we kind of just turn inwards, and that's where we hit that really kind of depressive, alienated space where we feel so alone in our heartbreak.
Right. And as you're moving through the process, you also in the book hold space for acknowledging the people that have helped you through this. You talk about doing something called a gratitude letter.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a great exercise. I do gratitude journals, but a letter is a little bit different, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It is a little different. So to actually take the time and space to sit down and write a letter. I did this in my own breakup. I went out and I bought really cute, adorable cards, and I write a heartfelt, thank you to a few of my friends who had, flown to Boston to be with me or who had driven up from New York to be with me, just to let them know how much I appreciate them being there for me. And so just the thought of like envisioning them opening the mailbox and getting this kind of warm and fuzzy letter in itself was healing and helpful. And I think when we practice gratitude, and it's not just me thinking this, we know there's ample research that says the practice of gratitude helps buffer against depression, anxiety, stress. It is like the cure-all. And I think it's so hard to think, how am I supposed to practice gratitude when I am feeling so angry and bitter and resentful about my situation in life? But it's actually that mindset shift that allows us to start healing and making progress. So gratitude is a great way to start shifting your mood, even if it's just in that moment when you're writing the letter.
And we all know it could always be worse. It could always be worse. Well, the book is Breaking Up and Bouncing Back. And I wanted to give people a couple of tips on the bouncing back part, because you are also a millennial love expert and you are a dating coach. What happens when you've done the processing and the healing from the past relationship? I know you found love again, and congratulations. I think your second anniversary?
No, oh my goodness. We're heading on 4.
4. I lost count.
I know, it's going by so quickly. I still feel like a newlywed.
You guys are so cute on social media, and you act like newlyweds. So I thought it was newer, but yeah. So you did bounce back yourself, and I'd love just a couple of tips on how to get back out there and start dating again if you've been through a breakup.
Sure. So my whole gig is really about dating with intent. So that means with purpose, with the intent to find your long-term significant other, not just, to have sex or to be casting a wide net and dating everyone under the sun, but to really have a better sense of who you are. So first, with bouncing back from your breakup, I just want to say there's no rule as to how long you should wait until you start putting yourself back out there. Obviously, if you're still very tearful and the only thing you can talk about is your ex, that is not a good topic for conversation on a first date. So
no, and if you're on a first date and you're talking about your ex, that's not a good first date. You don't have a love connection in front of you.
No, exactly. And it happens.
Right.
So just know that you still need a little time to heal. And I think during that process and some of the exercises in the book, it's really learning from your love lessons. So figuring out and getting crystal clear on, like, did you like yourself in that relationship? What didn't you like? What did and didn't you like about your partner? What it is that you're really looking for in the future. So that way you can kind of target the people who would make an ideal match for you. And in my book, I talk about what an ideal match actually is. And a big component of that, it's not the sexiest or most romantic way to find love, but it's really pragmatic. And it's about aligning your core values, because again, you don't want to compromise on the things that's most important to you. So aligning on core values, getting crystal clear on what those are, and also being wary of what I call the Franken boyfriend effect. So the Franken boyfriend is basically trying to find someone who is like all of the parts of your ex that you loved and adored, with all the things they were lacking or that you didn't like, and trying to kind of create this idealized, perfect version or Franken boyfriend of someone. And that doesn't work, because when you're in comparison mode and you're comparing everyone to your ex, and I get it, I've been there. My husband, when we were first dating, actually, once we were at the point of talking about our past relationships and things, and I met him relatively quickly out of my big breakup, like 3 months after my big breakup. So pretty soon, he said my ex walked on water. And it was like this wake up call for me, where I was like, why am I comparing this person so much to my ex or expecting all of these qualities? And it kept me from really being open to all of his unique gifts and things that he would offer in the relationship, because I was so married to the idea of what being with my ex would be like or what our life would be like. And now I'm living a life that I could have never even dreamed of. It's like eons better than the relationship I had with my ex, but it really took that work to being open to new experiences and really letting go, creating the closure you need to be open to someone new.
Yes, that's great advice. And I hope for everyone listening that is going through this, they will use this book as a tool, Breaking Up and Bouncing Back. It comes out on June 13th, but you can pre-order it now on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, and really go through the book and process these exercises so that you can find love again, move on, heal yourself, and not repeat the same mistakes that happened in your next relationship. So, Samantha, I want you to stick around with us and answer some questions from listeners in our next segment. Are you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
Technically dating.
Okay, so you are a therapist and dating coach, so you are highly qualified for these questions today. I have one from a female who is 25. She lives in Missouri, and she says, men are always asking for my social media accounts, or when I exchange numbers, they ask me to send a full body picture. This makes me annoyed. Usually when I talk to the guy about it, he gets angry. And in my opinion, we are not teenagers, and my life doesn't revolve around social media, and I don't send pictures to people's phones. Whatever happened to a date and conversation for me to get to know you? I get called uptight and other names for it. Ooh, Samantha Burns. I know you've seen this a lot as the Millennial Love Expert. We're moving all of this communication to the digital space.
Yes.
Is it right for a guy to ask for a full body photo?
So if they're not meeting on an online dating site specifically, if they're just, like sliding into your DMs or you met on social media, then no, I don't think it's appropriate to be asking for that. One of the things I do suggest to all of my clients, I do think it's very important to have a full head to toe body shot on your dating profile, because you should be proud of yourself, and only the people attracted to your body type are going to message you, so you don't have anything to worry about when you actually meet up with them. You show up and you look as you do in your photos, and they get what they see, so that kind of prevents some of that conflict. But if this is just someone who is within the first message or two asking you for a full body shot, to me that has red flags all over it. It says, hook up, not looking for a serious relationship. And, especially if they react poorly to you not saying that you're not comfortable with that. The most important thing when dating in a healthy relationship is that someone respects your boundaries and makes sure that you're comfortable at all times. So for you, it just means like next, and that you will not engage with this person anymore.
Yes, it's such a blessing that they do that and show you who they are up front, and then you can say, oh, good. Now I know that you're a skeevy jerk, and I don't have to even invest my time in you. Thanks so much. Bye. But what she's responding to, I just want to seize on this for a moment for a lot of the young women that are listening. You're responding to being objectified, and that is not okay, because if he is asking you for a full body shot, it's not to like assess if you're someone that is a good conversationalist. It's not to get a sense of the content of your mind and your character. It's clearly for, let's see, masturbation month was last month, but it's clearly for skeevy purposes, or so that he can see like, oh, well, how hot is her body? And those are not the building blocks of a relationship, as we just covered in the last segment. That doesn't tell you anything about your values. And it seems like she's looking for something with more substance. So yeah, you should be offended.
And one thing too that I have mixed feelings about, I don't love the idea of when you can sync up your social media to your dating profile in some of the apps, because I just think at first you can curate what you want to put out there. And I think it's too personal to have everyone see your public profile and access to all your photos and to see everything that you're sharing, which you should be thoughtful about. Like, what are you putting out there? And is your profile public or private? But again, like that should be something that's earned with time and trust.
I agree with you, but I feel like we kind of have entered into a new era where the social media your social media accounts sort of are your dating profile in a way. And you even look at Facebook getting into this space. Yes. It kind of is showing me we're evolving again. There was like the first evolution where you had the dating site and it was just a completely separate identity from you IRL, or I guess in social media, although that was like MySpace. And then there was the next evolution of integrating the two, because people were like, I want to deal with a real person. But I completely agree with you that when you put your foot forward in dating, it's a specific side of yourself, and it's a sort of curated version. Like, if you're not going to the bar to pick up guys in sweats, but like you're going to put makeup on, you're going to put your best foot forward, and you have to put your best foot forward in dating. So we got on a little bit of a tangent, but I think it was all good information. But I have another question for you, Samantha, from a young lady from Canada. She says, I am beyond confused. For the first time in quite a while, I have an honest-to-goodness crush on a guy. I genuinely like this guy, but he has a girlfriend. The thing that confuses me is that he always texts me and says that we have a connection, but yet he's together with someone else. Is it possible that he doesn't like me at all and sees us just as friends, or are guys not like that? Samantha Burns, help this young lady out.
Did you see my face? I was like, and I don't know, Damona, if you saw, but you had posted something on your Instagram page the other day about asking, is it okay or not okay to post, emojis or constantly be liking someone?
Is that cheating?
photo?
Yeah.
And so I responded. I did my master's thesis on gender differences and infidelity and counseling couples through an affair. And I have a very strong opinion about what is emotional infidelity. And the fact that he is in a relationship and telling you that you have a connection, to me, that is a no-brainer emotional infidelity. He's stepping outside of the trust and boundaries, whether covert or overt, with his significant other, and like creating this special relationship with you. And my question is, when he's dating you, are you going to be okay with that? When he says that to the next girl that he meets, that they have a special connection? For me, it's shady. I think it's inappropriate, and I think it's disrespectful to his partner.
I agree with you. And she has a crush on him because he is emotionally manipulating her.
He's giving her attention.
He's giving her attention, but he knows that he can't fully be with her. So he's really toying with her emotions. And no wonder she's confused, because it's confusing. He's sending her mixed messages. Well, I'm not available, but I am having this intimate connection and conversation with you. So I say, girl, there are other fish in the sea. You can find someone that is going to be 100% available to you and send you those messages, and to you and you alone, not to his girlfriend as well.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Another one. We have so many today, Samantha. So I'm going to try and do a couple of these rapid fire. Okay. That one is a long one. So I'm gonna go to a shorter one. Okay. This one comes to us from a female. She's 21. She lives in North Carolina. She says, I feel like me and my boyfriend are different people. I tag him on funny memes or send him funny stuff, and he doesn't reply or say it's funny or anything about it. I just sent him this video I saw, and he says, that's good. Is this grounds for a breakup here?
I don't necessarily know if it's grounds for a breakup, but for definitely a conversation. And I think that, the most popular thing that gets written on a dating app is that you're looking for someone with a good sense of humor or who will make you laugh. And the problem is there's 10 different types of humor. So we all find things funny that might be different from our partner. And if you align with your partner on that, then it's great because you're laughing all the time. But I also challenge this person to think of, what is she hoping to receive in those exchanges, in those messages? Like, it sounds like connection, or for just, your partner to laugh and to feel this sense of connection. And that can even tie into your love languages. So ask yourself, in what ways could you feel more connected to your partner? And even talk to him about, hey, this is a way I like to connect with you, and it's meaningful to me when you respond with, something thoughtful, or even just tell me that you LOL'd.
Yeah, sometimes you got to train them a little bit, right?
Yeah,
what you're expecting.
We're not dating, the exact same person as us.
I think if you have a complete difference in sense of humor, there could be a disconnect that would get larger over time. But maybe it's just something where, like, chicks like doing that. They like sending text and memes and funny stuff back and forth. And maybe he's just really not into texting that much, or really, maybe it seems a little bit young, a little juvenile to him. I don't know if this guy that she's dating is older, but I hear this a lot of times from older guys. Like, my girlfriend is always texting me, and I'm like, I don't, like, I'm at work. I don't have time to respond to these silly little things. Producer Thomas is laughing. Oh my gosh, your girlfriend sends you these things, doesn't she?
No comment.
I saw
Women
him
are
over
much
there.
more relational. We're more communicative. We like talk, 1,000 times more than males per day. So maybe also send those memes to your friends for, just a sense of connection that you feel like you could be lacking just in life.
Yes, exactly. Yes, we put so much into wanting that person to be everything. And you're like, but I want to send him memes and I want to go on vacation with him and I want him to be great with my family and I want him to also father my children. And it's like, pump the brakes a little bit. Maybe he doesn't have to be everything. But yes, the communication is really key in making sure that you do have some shared reference point with humor and that you enjoy each other. So if it's just the text, I don't know. But if it's like all the time, you're not meeting.
Yeah. Talk it over.
Talk it over. Okay. We have so many. Okay. Do you want an easy one or a hard one?
You choose.
Oh, that's so much pressure.
I
Well,
think we have time for one more.
oh, producer Thomas
Make
says
it a
one
good
more.
one.
Yeah.
Well, okay. This is interesting. This is a female. She's 22. She says, I've dated this guy for a while now, and we really like each other and spend a lot of time together. He likes to take some low doses of drugs every now and then, and he wants me to try LSD and snuggle with me. Mhm. I've never tried anything except alcohol, but I've always been interested in trying acid, but I don't know what to do. Should we wait until we are closer, or should I abstain? Since, this is important info, Samantha, since I have a brain prone to anxiety and depression. A little bit of peer pressure happening here.
Yeah, I mean, the mental health counselor in me, and I have a background in treating substance addiction history, so says no, like don't drop acid, don't do drugs, especially if you're predisposed to anxiety and depression. So like that's a hard no for you. In general, again, this comes back to your partner should respect your boundaries and make you feel comfortable. I get like people are going to do what they're going to do. Curiosity, gets the best of us. I'm not endorsing doing drugs and things, but I just feel like choose your health and hopefully your partner can prioritize that. And I would also be cognizant of, does this like little social side habit, is it increasing over time or is it really kind of a phase or something that's only happened a few times? But I would just be conscientious of it, like, is that something you are okay with in your partner?
Yeah, I'm with you. And those little things that you notice in the beginning can become bigger things later on. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how I don't feel right about him encouraging her to do the drugs with him. I think that's a slippery slope, and I've seen enough episodes of Intervention to know how that's going to go. Double intervention, people. That being said, I'm all for experimentation. I've experimented in the past myself. I will not give any further details on that on the grounds that it may incriminate myself. I'm never going to run for office. One of my friends was like, do you think you would ever run for office? I'm like,
said too many things on air.
That's exactly what I said. I was like, have you listened to Dates and Mates? There's no way. But even though that part of my career is over, this part of my career is going pretty well. And I would say experimentation is cool as long as you are understanding the risk. I mean, she's 22.
Yeah, your brain is, your prefrontal cortex is still forming until you're 25. So be conscious of that. And also, like, if you're down to experiment, there are less, severe drugs to experiment with than dropping acid.
Yeah. She went from I drink alcohol to like I'm mainlining.
Right. So
hard
like
drugs.
Maybe
so it's like there's something in between.
Do shrooms. They're natural.
They are poisonous, though.
Well, yeah.
Well, she skipped marijuana.
Yeah, I suppose.
Try a brownie or something first.
Yeah, get a
girl.
cookie. Just try something else first.
Yeah, but she really should examine though if her significant other, if anyone listening has a significant other that is encouraging them or forcing them into doing something that they are not comfortable with or they would not probably experiment with if they were not with this person, that can be a red flag and something that really needs to be examined.
Yeah.
I told you I was going to give you the harder question, but you handled it like a champ, and you handle breaking up and bouncing back like a champ as well. So I hope everyone listening will check out the book. We're showing you a cover if you're listening on the live stream on Facebook. Breaking Up and Bouncing Back by Samantha Burns. You can get it June 13th on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or wherever you buy your books. Thank you so much for joining us, Samantha. And I'll be following you on social media as well at Love Successfully. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Damona.
And the show is not over. By the way, if you wanted to post a question for a future episode, you can get your questions in on the Textpert app, which you can download for free on the App Store. You can leave me a voicemail at 424-246-6255. Again, it's 424-246-6255. And I have to end the show, of course, Producer Thomas, with something that has been on my mind lately. I'm going to take a little sip of water because I'm going to get 60 seconds. Yeah. And I got to make sure that I am ready to talk to you about this topic. So let's put 60 seconds on the clock for me to diatribe about why am I still single? I recently saw a post from a friend who answered the question, why am I still single? She disputed all the reasons why she thinks she's single, why people think she's single. These are not things that she agrees with, that she's crazy, that she's high maintenance, that she's a workaholic, that she's a mom. And in the end, she determined that she's single because when she did try to date before, it just brought too much drama into her life. And I get that. Love is messy. New love is really awkward, and bad relationships make you wish that you were single. But my question is, if you always stay in the place of safety and order and unwillingness to take a risk, you have to know that you are more likely choosing singlehood. And the process of finding a mate can be long and can take effort, but the reward in the end is usually greater than the struggle. But it only works if you commit to it and if you're truly ready to not be single anymore. So if you are ready to create the space to find a new partner, you're okay with things being a little awkward at first, and you can make finding a partner a priority, then you can really ask yourself, why am I still single? And you can know that you already have the answer. My question is, what are you willing to do to change that? And what are you losing each day when you don't take action? Thank you so much for taking action to listen to this show. If you have a friend that could use some of this information, I know you have friends that are going through breakups right now. Why not share this episode with them? We are on iTunes. We are on Stitcher. We are on Spotify. And you can always listen to new episodes on Dates and Mates. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to get your goodies at adamandeve.com using the offer code GIFT21. And I will see you again next week when my guest is Christy Goldstein, who's the author of Disabled and Dating. That's going to be a very interesting, thought-provoking show. I will see you next week. But until then, happy dating.